Hi, Deidre. I am excited to chat with you this morning. Um,
Hi,
Hi.
good to be here.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. And so, for those of you watching that don't know me, I'm Kelly Tebow. I'm the program manager for Day of Security, and CyberSN is one of our ongoing VIP sponsors. So, today we get to chat with Deidre Diamond, who is the founder of both CyberSN and Secure Diversity, and she's also the CEO of CyberSN. Part of my role is also I get to be the director of communications and operations at Secure Diversity, and we partner strategically with CyberSN to focus on increasing diversity in cybersecurity. We're really excited about the upcoming Day of Security. It's on October 28th and 29th, and it'll be happening online again. So let's dive into this cybersecurity recruiting and hiring and how CyberSN can help. I know today's topic is very exciting and important to you, Deidre, and I'm eager to ask you some questions about how current and future security professionals can pwn their careers.
Yay, me too. Me too. There's a lot of great organizations, as you mentioned, three today out there, even beyond us, working to solve this. And so the more we can put out, the better. So I appreciate the time. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of the Day of Security event that you're rocking. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump in. How can the Career Center that you all just launched help people who are new to the field of cybersecurity?
Yeah, it's a great question because as those that are new to cybersecurity already know, it's really hard to find their way in. And CyberSN now is 7 years old in servicing, hiring cybersecurity professionals, and yet. Those organizations don't pay us for entry level people, unfortunately. So they don't even really hire a lot of entry level people in all of these organizations. It's really only the large organizations, and so CyberSN has been contacted by entry levels for so many years that in this last release of continuing to give to this community, we added a career center, and I'd love to take you through it and dialogue with you specifically about that. And I'll share my screen because the entry level folks are really struggling, and part of the struggle, or maybe even the basic the base framework of the struggle, is how vast cybersecurity is. And so, as you can see here in our career center, the framework is to understand that there are 10 roles in cybersecurity, and then under those 10 roles, there's 45 functions. And so, I'm going to share more about this in a second, but let me first say that what we see the number one challenge for a cybersecurity professional is not knowing which job they really want, because there's so many options. Particularly, these programs show them 3 or 4 jobs, or they train them on 3 or 4 different types of jobs, right? So they go to these interviews, and they don't really have the answer to what they want to do, and people find that not strong enough for what they want. Somebody who knows what they want to do and is excited and about that. And so we need to give them minimally that, and that's what this is. This is to say, hey, whether you have experience or you don't have experience, all the information of every job that's in cybersecurity, other than the federal government, is here, meaning everything but Intel jobs is here.
Mhm.
uh, and it's mapped out. And so it's mapped out by functions. It's mapped out by what are these jobs in layman's terms, and I'm going to show you all of that. And what is the salaries, and the job descriptions with the salaries, and what is the certifications typically with that role. And so that's what we've done, Kelly. And you know we can't help but scale.
Mhm.
Like, we get the questions, and we can't it's a one-on-one conversation, and so we're so excited about this is just and people are so happy for it, and it feels good to provide it. So it's free, everybody. Like, we want to help everybody know their focus. So let's see, defense is highlighted here. And there's actually 13 functional roles in defense. It has the most amount of job opportunities is in the defense function. So we'll just hang out here for a minute. But every one of these, I call them job cards, so these are the titles that are most typical, or the one that you see here. But, as we click into it, and let's just click into cybersecurity specialist, as we see an overview here, we also see a list of how many titles are associated with this job, right? So imagine being entry level and, you're out there and you're trying to navigate, right? So we're trying to show everybody that we can simplify this and you can get deeper into it. Isn't that overwhelming? Just one of the reasons why job searching is broken, right? It's just the different language we all use in titles and jobs. And we see it with experience. This isn't just entry level problem, but people with experience. So this is helpful for everybody. And then if we keep scrolling, now that we're in this one job card here, which is a cybersecurity specialist, we can see the career pathing. Typically, somebody comes in around the administrative level, and they're typically going into a PKI function or a security analyst function. And you can click on any one of these, and it'll take you to that job card, which is also in the other categories that we saw before. So I'm not going to necessarily click here right this moment, because I want to keep going and show what else is here, which is the salary. And this salary data, I know people are super thankful. In fact, I need to add a little line here that shares that this is CyberSN data. Like, this is real data. This is people with experience. So think about the lowest experience that there could be that somebody's employed, to the highest, right? And this is, data from actual application experience with CyberSN versus all other data that's out today is scraped jobs data. So whatever data jobs have, right, on their jobs. And that's not really helpful, because we know people post jobs with the wrong salary all day long. And particularly in cybersecurity, in that the job salaries are changing month by month, when such a severe shortage, it's really, what do you need to pay to get that person? It could be a lot more than you think, or one thinks. And so then we've got the responsibilities that are typical, that are really always a part of this role, so to speak, that aren't going to vary from title to title, sort of the baselines of what these roles are, and tools and environments, and then certifications in alphabetical order. And what I've heard about this that's been so helpful for folks is that, some of these certifications are much more expensive than others. That are on these lists, right? And so people have options that they may not know about. I mean, there's, many pages here, and this is for a security specialist, right? So imagine, that's what the feedback's been for me, is like, wow, it gave me so many more options to understand there's other certifications I could get, and they're more affordable than the typical ones. And these are, as I mentioned, in a alphabetical type order. So super exciting to be able to give this information to folks. And I'll just go back here and put this screen up while we talk a little bit more. I've been chatting here for a while, but this is the content that we've got to help entry-level folks navigate a lot easier.
I think that's really interesting and great, Deidre. I know when I was making an industry change, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just had all these skills and couldn't figure out how to apply them, or even how to talk about them, because the language used in a different industry doesn't always match up. And so it's hard to help the recruiters and hiring managers see your value and those transferable skills. So I think that's really helpful. And then you're right, there's a ton of certifications, and it's, where do you start, especially if you don't have thousands of dollars to put on it because you're trying to switch jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you bring up the point for, there's a lot of people coming into cybersecurity that that have other prior work experience. They're not all just coming out of school.
Right.
Either way, matching to a job is a real challenge. So this is the first phase, which is, hey, match yourself first, help yourself first in knowing what these are. It's like, what interests you? Does that sound interesting to you, doing that work? And so that's the first stage. And then the second stage is, how do we map people with no experience to these jobs in a way that allows organizations to hire them efficiently and take the fear out of hiring them as if they're not going to be productive right away, which is the problem. And that's coming. We are tackling that next. It's, of course, all around us. This is, help yourself data. Soon we've got something for you that will do the work for you, i.e., make matches to jobs for you. And yet you have not been in the cybersecurity industry yet. I mean, today we do that for people with experience, and we've been doing it for 7 years, and our platform's been doing it for 3. And before that was an internal application. So we're certainly not new to the matching concept by any means. And we are committed to solving this for those coming in. It's super important. In fact, right now, IT is under here, but all other professions coming in, aren't there yet. So I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Yeah. And, the financial barrier to education is just a massive problem for us all. And so the cert stuff helps, we have a lot more work to do there, which one of the great things about Day of Security. It's where where focus is providing free training or training sponsored, because
Right.
it's key.
Yeah, I love that some of our sponsors that we bring in, they aren't bringing us, cash money. They're bringing us sponsorships and through trainings and certification sponsorships. So really helping our members level up and increase their skills.
Yeah. And that was by design, us, we created that by asking, like, that we really are about that.
Mhm.
We get that the training is critical. And so it's really fun to now provide, more of a guiding, light to, well, what training should I take? That conversation is constant, so it's nice to be able to provide knowledge. What else you
Oh,
got on your
I love
list?
that.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit to our experienced security professionals. How
Okay.
can they map their career using this site, and how can they use the site as an experienced professional?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. In fact, Pwn Your Career is a tagline I'm really loving,
Mhm.
using, because we are living in an era of transparency, and that really provides the support for individualism and self-care. And self-care is really also, sort of, owning our own career experience. And again, knowledge gives that. And so, that career center I just showed you is for people with experience and without experience, because it starts, from the beginning and, all the way through, and all the data that's in the career center is for those with experience too. And then, from the perspective of actually, finding jobs, there is a huge component of what CyberSN is doing to solve a very serious problem, which is people not loving where they're working, but the job searching process is so awful, they're staying there long periods of time, or they know they want to leave and they're job searching and it takes forever and the experience is horrible, and and they just, it's disheartening and awful, experience. And so beyond the career center, which is everything about know your worth and accelerate your success that you see here, that we look looked at earlier, this whole concept of find and be found needs to be in what we're providing is a one place destination to both career information and also finding jobs and being found by jobs, which I'll talk about in a minute. In terms of, finding jobs and being found by jobs, which is another piece that we're adding, this is, a value add to cybersecurity professionals, because in one place, they can come find every single job posted in the US in one place. So right now, as you can see here, there's 62,746 live cybersecurity jobs posted in the US. We have brought them into CyberSN, and they're here, and we've actually categorized them by functional roles. But before I dive into that, I want to make the point here, when we were just talking about entry-level folks and just the job market in general, we're short 500,000 cybersecurity professionals, and yet only 62,746 are posted today. And this adds to the problem that we have of finding jobs. So they're not posted, and they're not posted because they don't work, which is why CyberSN is doing what CyberSN is doing, which is creating the full taxonomy for jobs, having jobs all in one place that speak the same language. And so, these 62,000 jobs are actually categorized, and I'm going to show you right now, into CyberSN's taxonomy of functional roles. So this is our job searching functionality. You can put in a title, but you also can choose functional roles. And these functional roles align with everything that you saw in the Career Center. They're the 45 job categories. And so, right here, the value add is so significant in that a cybersecurity professional can see, not just have access to all those jobs, but they're categorized in a way that's easier. And we all know we're in search, nightmare every day of our lives of everything. And so, beyond that, those companies that choose to use our taxonomy and our technology to post their jobs in our format, their jobs look like this is why you see it called a CyberSN job, which is all the tasks and projects clearly defined using the taxonomy that we built, tools and environment, the important details that somebody needs to know to whether or not they can apply for the job or they want to apply for the job. And, if an organization wants to post their job in our taxonomy, they can with the swipe of their credit card. It's super easy. And so we're on a mission to make sure that we tell the world you can post your job in a place that works, where it works, because not only are the cybersecurity professionals here because we have a lot of career information for them and support them and speak their language, they're here because they want to only see jobs look like that. They're tired of the way those jobs everybody's posting look like. And then in addition, I want to show you that cybersecurity, and we talked about finding jobs. That was like sort of proactive, right? Like I'm going to go search for jobs. Mm-hmm. Well, professionals can make a profile and then be found by employers. And I'm just going to show you what a profile looks like. It's the same job taxonomy in that this person is anonymous, because why do we need to know who they are to have a public profile? To match them to a job. I don't need to know their gender. I don't need to know their race. I don't need to know their age. I don't even need to know exactly where they live. I need to know what kind of money they're making in some bracket. I need to know some sort of a location. I need to know what current title they have, and are they willing to relocate, and do they need visa sponsorship to work in the US or not? And do they have a clearance? And I don't need to know what year they had their clearance. I don't need to know what year they got their last education. If they have certifications, I'd like to know. If they're a veteran, I'd like to know. So all of that's there in terms of, a recruiter or an employer looking at a public profile. And so is using the taxonomy to create what we call a profile, which is a modern resume, that really can speak to the tasks and the projects that somebody is working on and completing on a regular basis, so that we can get out of SEO resume work and really get back to resumes now called profiles working, in terms of making a match. You can see how this is completely different experience of understanding what somebody's doing than a typical resume. And so professionals are coming on to our website to the tune of, 10 to 35, 40, actually, I think was our highest last week, a day, and making their profiles. Again, this is for somebody that has current cybersecurity experience or IT experience coming into cybersecurity. And we are, moving diligently to get to entry level, no experience. So really the ability to be found. And so employers can search profiles and, post jobs and that professional be notified. And so less work. And it actually works. Like, I think we all get those notifications, of jobs that never once has it even been a title I've occupied, which is fascinating. So we've got, controlled content, and we can do the matching because of that.
I love that. I went through, because of our strategic partnership, I went through and created a profile for myself. And while I'm not doing the cybersecurity work in the same way that the platform is looking for, it was really interesting to take what I've done and apply it in the way and break it down in the profile setting. So I found that a really great way to highlight what you've done in your past in a way that is streamlined versus having to read really tiny lines on a resume. And numbers are great, but it really breaks down. I did this work. Here's the percent of time I spent on that. And I loved that.
Yeah, you're a great example of, you didn't know you were in cybersecurity. So like the profile building actually worked for you
Mhm.
because you're one of those folks, because you were doing GRC work, right? And you were doing less technical work, and yet you were still in cybersecurity and you didn't even know it. And so, yeah, so anybody who's listening, still, check it out, because you might not even know, right? Um, that you could actually have a security profile.
Right.
Uh, that was fascinating. I remember that. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you've done risk management and you've done compliance work, that translates so easily over. And you may have to learn things like NIST that you hadn't necessarily done, but that's, apply yourself, learn something new, which many of us love doing. And
Yeah.
then you can really highlight that and say, hey, I think I
Yeah.
actually have a lot of skills that would apply.
Yes. Yes. Super important, which is why, we don't discourage anybody from, starting to make a profile. See if you can.
Mhm.
It's possible. And somebody else said the other day, like, if you're out doing CTFs or you're out in GitHub, well, then make that your experience. And also you can export this profile, and use it in other manners, which is really nice, too.
So this is free for candidates. Is there a catch? How do you all as CyberSN get paid?
Yeah, no catch. Employers pay us. We are a full service, time and material staffing agency. We use the platform for recruiting, for filling jobs for our clients, and employers can post jobs at CyberSN. And so we make our money through those two things. We make our money through full service recruiting options for our clients and job postings. It's really how the market's always been in talent, is the employer pays, and that shall not stop here. That's for sure.
Now, could someone use this if they're not in cybersecurity or not looking to get into cybersecurity?
I think they can use it for information of what's going into cybersecurity and the career center and the provider exchange. There's just so much resource information we have. But really, CyberSN is about cyber careers and jobs, whether either being in it or coming into it. And so if you have interest in getting in, or anybody, there's tons of content here, blogs that I've done over the years on getting in, a lot of videos on YouTube about how to get into cybersecurity you can find at CyberSN. So it's both.
Thanks. So can you tell me a little bit more? I've seen it on your website and in your posts, but how you all are working with diversity, equity, and inclusion and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with saying that, first and foremost, I'm a subject matter expert on the conversation of emotional intelligence, and the people that work at CyberSN are required to have high emotional intelligence. And we work recruiting from that perspective of working with organizations that understand that all people want the same seven things in in life. And so these are the environments we're looking to staff for. And if people are willing to have coaching and work to get to be this, then great. Otherwise, forget about it. And so that's the first thing. And so because that's who I am, I'm out there talking this way on, at all events all the time, like retain your people, understand that, diversity is about inclusion. What's your culture like? What are you teaching EQ skills? Do you understand that a manager has a control over people's lives? Like, I'm in this conversation and certainly leading this conversation with others. And so that's super important to me. And then that's why Secure Diversity was founded, as as I out there having this conversation going, shoot, I got to do more, and so there's that. And then there's the what I just showed you, which I probably went over too quickly, which is that all of our professionals are anonymous, and so when you make your profile, and I did say I don't need to know that information, but what I didn't say is, and so therefore I don't require you to give it to me, to make your profile. And so a professional can actually have a profile where they can be viewed and employers can judge them without knowing their race, their gender, their age, anything other than what have they been doing with their time as it pertains to work, and where they, what do they have, what education do they have, and what kind of money are they making? Like that's, what else do we need to know to make a good enough match? We don't. And so unconscious bias, we minimize. We'll kick it down the road is what I keep saying. Like, shit, I wish I could get rid of it. I'm taking it out of the screening process, but the interviewing process, it could come back in, as we all know, at any time. So the unconscious and conscious biases, we're kicking down the road. And then we're also allowing for folks to, not fear reprisal in job searching. Like, your company has a recruiting license, and you've got a profile for LinkedIn, and you've deemed it, I'm looking, and it's not supposed to come up, but all those things scare people,
Mhm.
about really, job searching. And then these security professionals, they don't want their information public about this, all these things that we're leaving out, so that they can then be social engineered at their job. So cyber professionals also don't want to have that exposure. And so, diversity, equity, and inclusion is lots of things. It's the framework of how we treat people is really what it is. You don't have diversity without inclusion. And then there's the job searching component, where we know there's conscious and unconscious biases, and so we've removed that for this process. And fingers crossed that, as the can goes down the road, that the more and more high EQ people are hiring, and understanding that humans can do whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter their age or their anything else. Like, engage people, talk to them, and let's change this ridiculous process of hiring.
Right. And as with the profiles and pulling out the work you've done versus necessarily like how you would frame it on your resume, it does allow for you to have a better crossover and take some
Mm.
of that bias out, where the you will continue to promote homogeny if you only hire the same people who have the same experiences. So if we can look at more at like the things that you've done versus how you list it out, and break it down into different groupings, that'll be helpful in minimizing that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, for sure. And that we know there's unconscious and conscious bias. So
Mhm.
how about we just, seek to minimize it by taking it out of the process as much as possible, it's like, let's not just say that, oh, people are getting better and they're not like that. And it's like, okay, great. I hope so. I hope so. And why do you need it? What are you going to do differently if you know their gender other than have some sort of bias?
Mhm.
So let's just take it. There's no way. We all have it. It's almost a part of being a human, even though, some of us have good biases. There's still good, biases. So, the brain's a tricky thing, a tricky, tricky thing. So I really appreciate that conversation. It's super important to understand that that still happens in society today. And this isn't, and that's another great point. This platform is international. Like so, it's English language, and yet it's international. So we are a world economy, and so while we may be feeling like we're getting better here at our conscious and unconscious biases, this is serving the world, and we're sure as hell as a world and a country not even close. So I say no. We're not close. Let's do
We have
it.
so much to do,
Yeah.
and I think, that's why we do Day of Security too, is we want to get more women into cyber, because they're still super underrepresented and there's a huge gap there. So we're working on that, and we're excited to welcome CyberSN back as a VIP sponsor again. Like I said at the beginning, we'll be hosting Day of Security October 28th and 29th on the Hopin platform, and we're still open for registration and for sponsors.
Yeah, it's a great event. 1,200 women last this March. We did with over 50 sponsors, and I think all of them are back, and many more new ones. And it's just really exciting to see the community come together. So thank you for all your hard work. Thanks for making the community grow, and I'll see you very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for your time, Deidre.
You're welcome.